Hello and welcome to Behind the Scenes at History Colorado. My name's Alisa DiGiacomo and I'm the Director of Curatorial Services. And so far you've learned a little bit about contemporary collecting, what's in our collection, why we're building our collection for you. I want to mention that we're here at our storage facility, and this is one place that we keep our collections. But I'd like to mention to people that you might think, well, why aren't we seeing all these things? And we want to remind you that we've been collecting for over 140 years, and that part of our reason for collecting is for preservation, and these are accessible to you through our research center. So there's lots of ways for you to engage and interact with the collection. Today we'll be taking a look at some recent donations as we're talking about contemporary collecting, and give you a little insight into the types of material we've been bringing in, the communities we've been working with, and the kinds of material that will be available to you soon. So welcome. Our first piece today is this piece of graffiti art. And for people that are unaware, History Colorado has been working to document the COVID-19 experience in Colorado. We've encouraged people in a variety of ways to participate, from journals to photo submissions. We've also been collecting artifacts. And this wonderful example of the graffiti panels came from Barry's on Broadway. And we worked with the owner of the business to acquire this piece. It was up for about 4 months. It was done by graffiti artist Jeremiah Clark, who graciously came back and helped us fix some of the pieces before it came into the building. And in case you're wondering, yes, it's upside down, and it's because it really just came in a couple of weeks ago, and we're working to process it and make it available to the public for research. Now, in addition to our contemporary collecting tied to the pandemic, we just talked about this graffiti piece. We also recently acquired a really magnificent donation that ties the past to the present. The graffiti piece, I think, is a good example of how history still speaks to us even when there's not a script or written word per se. I would say that the same is true for this wonderful hope chest, and this was donated about 2 weeks after the pandemic was in full swing and the state was closed down. And it was very interesting for us to receive it, not only because it's a hope chest, but we don't usually see the hope chest kept intact. And this one is really amazing because it has all of the pieces. Jenny Delario, it was her hope chest, and she would have worked with her mother or other women to make linens, to have tea towels, and there's about 60 plus items in the trunk. Now, it's also really amazing and very sad, honestly, because Jenny Delario died during the Spanish flu. So this is a great example of how we're collecting contemporary materials, but we're always on the lookout for other powerful stories. And the truth is that History Colorado did not have a whole lot of artifacts related to the Spanish flu with personal stories. Another important piece that we brought in tied to Colorado's COVID-19 experience is this mask. I'll tell you first that it was made by a company in Colorado called Function. And like many other businesses, it needed to reinvent itself and switched from making snowboard headgear and clothing to masks. And this particular mask is significant because it was worn by Governor Polis on his first press conference about COVID and at several events after that. I like it as an example of what's happening with COVID, but it's also a great example of the many stories that our collection tells in a variety of ways. It also talks about politics in our state, similar to this donation that came in recently, and is all about, probably over a span of 25-30 years, one family's individual experience with politics. So it includes signs from a variety of amendments, of different campaigns, political buttons, including some that are tied to Vietnam, and it's even including the light rail, RTD's light rail project. So today I'm going to end my selections for contemporary collecting on a little bit more of a fun note. The collection I selected here, which you'll see in the carrying case, uniforms, catalog, belonged to a gentleman named Clarence Wallace. And he was a traveling salesman for the Maury Mercantile. And he actually was a traveling salesman for around 35 years. And if you're not aware of the Maury Mercantile, you may have actually visited its warehouse and not known that. It's actually where the Tattered Cover downtown is currently located today. It's contemporary because he really finishes his career in around 1960, but it shows you a big change in what's happening with grocery stores. So Clarence is part of the generation that travels around and helps businesses. He served 66 businesses, and he would help them decide what to put on their shelves. And this is wonderful because although we have material in our collection tied to the business side of the Maury Mercantile, we don't have this personal side of the traveling salesman. So this is a great collection for us to talk about not only grocery prices and agriculture, but you really get a great glimpse of what it was like for Clarence to be a traveling salesman in Colorado. Now, I'm going to end on one that if you're from Colorado, you're probably very familiar with Blinky the Clown. Also, his real name was Russell Scott. Blinky was the longest running clown in television. So we are very fortunate to have Blinky's jacket, his gloves, his hat, and we're now looking to know more about people's experience with Blinky. And again, we're just so grateful to have this addition to our collection. Thanks so much for joining me behind the scenes at History Colorado. Again, I'm Alisa DiGiacomo, and please remember that our collection is your collection and it is available for you. And if you have questions, please reach out to us, and thanks again.